Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Subscribers Town Hall, the only town hall exclusively for subscribers. That's all I got. I'm your host, community manager, Jared Huckabee. And if you've never seen a Subscribers Town Hall before, that's our monthly broadcast where we invite members from the CIG development team to sit down and chat with us and take questions exclusively from our development subscribers. So joining us for our May Subscriber Town Hall, which is in June, of course, it is June 6th today, but that was a little schedule accommodation there, are members from the Foundry 42 UK props team, Mr. Ben Curtis and Mr. Corey Bamford. Corey, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
Good,
doing great, thanks.
Thank you for joining us on the show. This is the first time we've had either of you on any version of our broadcast, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super exciting.
All right. So why don't we start things off real simple? Tell the folks watching at home or watching in a little window while they're pretending to work. Why don't you tell the folks who you are and what you do? We'll start with Ben.
Yeah, hi. So my name's Ben Curtis. I'm the lead prop artist here at Foundry 42. So my responsibilities are basically leading the props team and making all the props that you see in engine.
All right. And Corey, how about you?
I'm Corey. I'm a prop artist as well. I mostly make props, as you'd expect.
And this is the kind of scintillating insights you can expect for the next 45 minutes.
Yeah, all right. Should we wrap this up, boys?
It's okay. So Ben, why don't you take us back? Tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got started with CIG, and what you did before coming on board.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'll start at the beginning. I started in the games industry about 12 years ago. Give or take. Started out in QA working at a racing studio based in Runcorn, which is just down the road from here. I worked on the WRC franchise and then the Motorstorm franchise. So we had 3 titles on the PlayStation 3, 1 title on the Vita, and then continued working there at Evolution Studios on a game called Drive Club for the PS4. And then left Evolution about 2.5 years ago and moved over, come over and joined Foundry 42 as a senior ship artist. And then after a couple of months on the ships team, was asked if I wanted to lead the props team, and I kind of jumped at the chance, and that kind of takes us up to now.
Okay. How about you, Corey? Where you come from?
Well, I studied at Teesside Uni game art recently. This is my first sort of big job in the industry, which is super exciting. It's a real pleasure to work with such talented people. My first job, and I'm really enjoying my time here so far. So I've been here for about.
He's got to say that.
Yeah, I have to say that. Or else that's it. I get my P45. But yeah, I've been here for about one and a bit years. One year and 3 months or something.
You started. What was one of your first jobs was working on Kasaba, wasn't it? So
Yeah,
it was just
yeah,
before
yeah.
the kind of like the shopping release. So yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, before we get into things, we'll tell the folks viewing at home, this is a subscribers town hall. So whether you're viewing on YouTube or viewing on Twitch, we are taking questions exclusively from our development subscribers. So in order to submit questions for consideration to be included in today's episode, you'll need to do so on Spectrum, which is our communications platform that's available on robertspaceindustries.com. Just go to robertspaceindustries.com, load up Spectrum, and go to the subscribers chat. That is the place where we're collecting questions. We have also been collecting questions in our subscribers den for the last 2 weeks, so we have some pre-game questions. When you do submit questions into the subscribers chat, it would help us pick your questions out from all the other conversation that's going on. If you preface your question with the word question in capital letters surrounded by brackets, it just helps draw our eyes to it between everybody else's conversation. So Ben and Corey, while folks are getting their questions ready, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what it is that the props team does, the things that you work on, so we know the kind of things that they can ask and the kind of things, more importantly, that you can actually answer.
Do you want to start? Or
Yeah, I'll start. Yeah. So basically, the props team, we make everything you see in the environments that aren't bolted to the walls and don't fly around or talk. We make everything from litter to bins or trash for any Americans out there. We make chairs. Ship components.
Yeah, that's it. So as Corey says, we're very much a content creation team. So we're much like the environment team or the character team or the ship art team, and our responsibility is quite broad. So we'll make anything from phones and like pads all the way up to room-sized generators to the ship components, and it can be kind of anything in between. We make a lot of the stock for the shops that you might kind of interact with. Like we wouldn't necessarily make we don't make the character clothing, but we would make the kind of like the world assets of that clothing that's kind of seen in game and kind of used.
Yeah, we fold it up in a Marvelous Designer, which is actually quite fun.
Yeah,
it's like doing your laundry at home.
And I think the way to think of it is if you were to take something like this office, we wouldn't make the kind of like the floors, walls, or ceilings, but we'd make anything else that's as Corey says, it's not bolted down, it doesn't fly, it doesn't talk. I think
those are basically the criteria for what we make.
Gotcha.
And special effects and stuff is not really our jam either.
Yeah, things like your little cactus that you have on your table.
Yeah, precisely. That's a prime example. Though we do have a foliage team in Frankfurt as well, and they help out with the planet side foliage assets. But we do dabble in the veg market a bit.
Yeah, our fingers go quite wide, I'd say.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you mentioned that you work on ship components. A big topic of conversation lately has been the progressing work on Ship 2.0 and converting all of our ships over to that system. We did an ATV segment on it last week. We had our happy hour interview on Friday about the Ship 2.0 and stuff. You guys are making the actual ship components. What are some of those components? You're making shield generators, you're making coolers. What are you making?
Avionics?
Yeah, so off the top of my head, so we're doing power plants, quantum drives, avionics or computers. We're doing
shield
generators, jumps, stabilizers. Yep. There's a whole range of ship items that we're making. We're kind of not necessarily responsible for what types of items we make. That's more of a kind of like a design-led side of things, and that's very much comes from kind of like the gameplay and what kind of gameplay they're trying to make. But we work closely with the designers and the kind of like the tech design team to supply the art that kind of like they're requesting. So the way it would normally work is that they would say we're after a shield generator item so that we can kind of we can customize it, we can damage it, we can tweak the kind of like the sub items within that ship item, and so they'll come to us with a request, and then we kind of like deliver them the actual kind of like the physical asset that you'd see in engine.
Yeah,
so a real deal 3D asset that players will be able to, that has to not only fit into a spot on a ship, but they'll be able to remove it, put it back in, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I kind of missed out one important step that was like the concept step.
Yeah, totally.
So normally it kind of it goes from design over to the props team. We'll kind of work with the concept artists to kind of agree on the forms and the function and how it should work, and then it goes over to concept, and they come up with making it like look really cool.
Yeah, look really nice. Yeah. So the concepts we get for the ship components are great. I really, really love working from the concepts we get from them.
Gotcha.
And in terms of like the scale and the size, obviously our ships range from single seaters up to massive. And so there is a massive range in items. I think our smallest ship
for the dragonflies as well.
Yeah.
Don't forget we do ship items.
So the vehicle scale. Yeah. So the smallest ones are kind of I think they're something like 25 centimeters or 30 centimeters, something like that. Then you can almost pick it up with one hand, and then they go right up to the large, which is kind of the size of this room, and each of them has to have a interaction with the player. So like you say, if it's big enough to be picked up, then it can be picked up. If not, then you'll be kind of swapping these things out, and then they've got sub items that you can then plug into them, so you can kind of tune some of the kind of performance and the stats on it. But again, that very much gets to the realm of design. We just make things look pretty.
You mentioned you work with concept. I'm thinking, when you talk about a generator, at least we have some idea, some rough idea in our head, as people, what a generator kind of looks like. Maybe not specifically a shield generator or a power generator. What do avionics look like? You mentioned that. When somebody says I got to create avionics, what does avionics module look like?
Well, they're quite simple in terms of their premise. It's just essentially a box, and it's got a set of drawers which have the computers, the processors,
I think
and the guts on them.
A lot of our reference for those was taken from like server blades.
Yeah. like hot swapping kind of components.
Yeah, so and even kind of like today's server blades are getting kind of pretty sci-fi, or they're kind of like pushing the boundary of the kind of like the aesthetics of them, and so that's kind of where a lot of the inspiration kind of came from that side of things. I mean, probably my favorite so far have been the quantum drives, because I think they look
beautiful.
Really, really cool. And the concepts are really cool, and I think the kind of the implementation, the kind of like the artists that worked on them done like a really good job of kind of the thing with concepts is concepts are all about making it look the part. They're actually we normally supply them fairly tight metrics to work to as well. So I have to say that our concept team do a really good job of kind of making things sticking to those kind of those rules that we've set out, because they are so important when it comes to kind of putting these in each different ships. But it's kind of our job to kind of take that concept and go, okay, well, this is what we want it to look like, but we also need it to function so that the character can actually fit their hand within these things, and so make sure that there's consistency across all the different ship items. I mean, I think for the small ship items, we've covered I think I want to say five different types of item, and there's between 20 and 25 per type. So that's just for the first five, and like I say, there's many more types, and that's just for smalls, and then we've got vehicle, mediums, larges, capitals, and onwards. So it's really important that we kind of build consistency into them so that we kind of they work as from a game point of view, really.
There's also the stylistic consistency as well, between the different ship manufacturers, and that's one thing that Concept do really well, is convey the kind of language of each manufacturer in the components. And they have proper branding, basically, like the components. The outside of them is consistent with the brands.
So basically, when you see a particular type of ship prop, you'll be able to see it. That's a Windcastle product, propulsion.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I think was it you that worked on the Godey?
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah, so some of the kind of like the Godey manufacturer, they've got like a really strong brand identity. They were kind of like really. Oh, Corey can talk really. They're the good fun ones in my opinion. They really kind of stood out.
I worked on quite a few of the shield generators. They were probably my favorite thing to work on, because there was quite a lot of interesting interesting curves and shapes to them. And considering they all have basically the same form factor between the manufacturers, they look so different. Like you kind of at first glance you wouldn't really know that they all kind of functionally have the same sort of properties. It's just also creating the variants was quite fun. We're given with the concept the color scheme for that manufacturer, and throughout the different grades. So I should probably explain that as well. Each ship component comes with a set of grades, usually 3 or 4. And those grades, you got like low grade ones, generally made out of cheaper materials, kind of to the more kind of pristine sort of using kind of excessively nice materials and really high gloss finishes and so on. And you kind of get the color scheme, and you have to say to yourself, okay, how can I make it look kind of consistent with this color scheme, but make it look cheaper? And then how can I make it look, kind of fancy?
Yeah, and I think that's something that's kind of quite important, because there is quite a lot of there's a huge amount of lore in our game, and with these kind of like these brands, kind of going to that level of detail so that you can tell from because these are physical items in the game, you want to be able to when you see them, kind of instantly recognize what is, like you say, like the lower quality asset versus what is the kind of higher performing asset. It's I think it's a really nice and rewarding thing to be able to do, so that you can see that if you are kind of increasing your ship's performance or your item's performance, we kind of try and do our best to reflect that in the art as well.
Yeah.
Well, the questions have started to come in from our subscribers. There's one here that I want to hit first, because let's step back a bit. The question was, what's the general process of creating a prop? So I think this is a good place to start here. Let's get this out of the way so that we can go from here. I'm giving you a request for a shield generator. Take us through the process here.
Okay, so depending on the complexity of the prop, we kind of follow a few different pipelines, if you like. For something that like a shield generator that's got quite a lot of gameplay as part of it, and it's very much it's there for a purpose. So we wouldn't really start working on any of this stuff until we've got kind of a full design doc, and we've had a good conversation with design and really understand
what it does really.
Yeah, like not just what it should look like and where it should go, but what the functionality of it is. Because that like I say, that plays a big part for us in its metrics. And if you need the internals to be accessible, then we need to make the art able to do that. So from that point, it would be a conversation with the concept team, and we would have a good have a sit down with them and a kick off with them, especially if it was like the first shield generator we were making. Then we'd probably have a meeting about it and get all the questions out there so that we try and answer as much of it up front before we start the work. And then from that point of view, it comes, we get a signed off concept from the art director and from the concept team, comes over to us. I kind of do the boring scheduling side of things and put it on someone's plate, and then it would go over to an artist like Corey.
Yeah. So once it's been briefed out and we know it's not going to change, we know how it's going to function, things to consider such as physical constraints. It's got to fit into this kind of size hole. The doors are going to have to open in this kind of way. We sort of flesh it out, build some templates that we show. We build like a template for it, and we try and unify positions of certain things. Like, for instance, the shield generators, they have these end caps that change based on the grade it is. Basically, it's like a more sophisticated end. It's sort of like a GPU, I suppose. You can swap it out of your computer. We standardize the kind of size and parameters for these, and we make sure that that's all good to go. And then we actually get on with actually making it.
Yeah, I think one of the so we kind of go through a set of phases. So we start off with our white box, and that's really important to get something kind of in engine as quickly as possible. So it sometimes it is literally a box, and sometimes it has a bit more kind of functionality built into it. So if we've got if there's player interaction, so we need to pass it over to the animation team to make sure it works with them, or if it has design implications. So it was a cover item or something like that. We need to make sure that we're kind of getting everything nailed before we invest too much kind of art time in it. That kind of gets normally creating a white box is like a really quick task, and we just get something in, get it named right in the right location and in engine, and that means that all the other teams are kind of then can start using it, and they're not blocked by us and how long it takes to actually make the asset. We'll then go through like a grey box phase, which is like the primary kind of modeling phase of it, and then materials and kind of finishings, and then if it requires some animation, there'll be a call as to whether or not we'll take it or we'll hand it over to the animation team. Some of the kind of like the more simple assets we'll deal with, and some of the more complex stuff we kind of hand off.
Yeah, it can definitely, as we said earlier, there's like we do quite a broad range of things. We make quite a broad range of assets. Some of them are super simple. We can do them autonomously and just bang it out basically. It's like, I need to make some cans. You can just kind of get on with it.
But I mean, our kind of time investment ranges from some props can take a few hours or half a day to some props can take like 3 or 4 weeks. So like I say, it kind of depends on the complexity of the asset. And then once we've kind of got like the LOD 0, so everything's in, it looks pretty and everything like that, we then do our kind of like our game ready pass, which would be creating a lot of LODs, making sure that physics proxies are all correct and don't break things and that side of it, and just our kind of final nod and sanity checks to make sure that we're not breaking anything.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Another question from the chat here. What is your favorite prop that you've worked on in the game so far?
There's a lot I really like. I really had a lot of fun making. Recently, we got the Artex GSS locker downstairs, which is pretty awesome. And that was quite a fun asset to make itself. It was probably one of the first assets I did that was required animation, and it really got me. I kind of got into the animation system a bit and set it up, and I had quite a lot of fun making that.
So you actually made the GSS Artex.
I made the model for it. It was concepted by Yor. He's no longer with us, but I mean, he's no longer at the company. He's still somewhere, but he concepted it. I did the model for it, and I saw it on Reddit, just the physical version that was made by John, and I was like, oh, holy wow, that's really cool. So that was pretty awesome.
Okay.
I guess artistically, my favorite is probably one of the shield generators. Probably it's not the Godey one. It's the other one with all the cool shapes. I'm trying to remember now. It's been a while since I worked on it.
All right.
On the spot
Yeah.
Yes,
So
he's
Come
putting
back
you
to
on the
us.
spot
Yeah.
to describe his favorite.
I've offset the spot, which is
Yeah.
good.
All right,
Also, slightly morbid. The body bags were really fun to make.
in
I
Star
think-
Marine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were pretty fun to make.
Yes, I saw that edition. That was in 2.6. Was it 2.6.1 when they were added?
Yeah,
2.6.1.
I
Yeah.
think it was 261. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like loaded up one day, and I'm like, oh, there are body bags here now.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of remember going past Corey's desk and be like, "Oh, so, yeah, let's see what you kind of where you're up to." And he's like, "Yeah, I've been asked to do different effects as to whether or not you shoot the body or the bag." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Right." And he's like, "Yeah. So like, if you shoot it here, the blood comes out, and if you shoot it here, it's just like the normal hip thing." Huh?
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, we can do that. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
quite good.
We use a tool called Marvelous Designer, which is basically a cloth simulation program used in like the garment / textiles industry to kind of prototype clothes. The character team use it, I believe, quite extensively.
Yeah.
I've used it for things like bedding before. It's been quite fun having my little dude in the bed asleep, and I get the simulated cloth and I tuck him in, and then we use that in game. It's quite funny.
I think for me, like like I say, I don't get to kind of really see stuff from kind of like start to finish very much. So it's quite kind of like rare that I kind of really get hands on in that side of things. But my favorite kind of time is normally like release times. I think that's the time that kind of you see everything come together and all the teams kind of really kind of push into dresser scenes. I think some of the Star Marine stuff, really, I think we kind of really nailed it for that. I think that kind of visually, it was good fun, kind of being able to get in there and kind of do a really good kind of like storytelling part on it and work with the writers. Kind of getting information on the lore and the backstory and all that sort of stuff is really really helpful for us, because it really kind of leads like how we build the assets. Because as that's probably something else I should kind of clarify, because it kind of comes up quite a lot, is that as a props team, we are kind of we make the assets, we don't necessarily dress the scenes, so it means that we work kind of closely with the environment team and with the like the design team, and there's a lot of kind of like, oh, really cool if we had this, like, yeah, that's a great idea, let's go and let's kind of bash one of them out and kind of get that done. So I think for me it's more the work atmosphere and the kind of the coming together of all the different departments that kind of I really enjoy.
The next question from the chat says, I love the Hanger Flare booze cabinet because you can interact with it and get drunk. Are there any other flares in-game props planned that will have an effect on people?
Off the top of my head, again, that's it's really good fun when we get those requests from design, but it's not something we generally push up to design unless we kind of have like a
really good idea.
Like a really good idea. We're like, we've made this for you. It'd be really cool if it kind of done this.
We actually had a couple listening to the questions, like the little droid. That'd be fun.
Yeah. So off the top of my head, I don't know, but I'm sure there will be.
Yep. You have some. You haven't gotten the request yet, but you got some requests coming.
Yeah.
We're not ready to talk about them just yet.
Yeah.
The next question here asks about your work on 3.0. They want to squeeze some 3.0 information out of you. Now I know you guys are working a lot with the planetary bases and stuff. What can you tell us about your work on 3.0?
So 3.0, like I say, a big focus for us has been the kind of like the surface outposts. Again, they're something that I've really enjoyed because we're getting to theme them, and when you kind of get to go in there and do like a kind of whole theme set, I think it's really rewarding kind of seeing that big picture come together. So again, from that point of view, it's been quite a heavy kind of investment of our time, is building a lot of these kind of dressing sets. So we kind of tend to break the props down into, you start off with your empty room and you go in there, and first pass will be
like large furnishings.
Yeah, so like the set piece props. So it'll be like the machinery or the kind of like desks and the chairs or the beds and all that kind of like habitation and hydroponic set.
The stuff that kind of gives the room the purpose.
Yeah, and then we kind of like the more time we spend on stuff, the kind of like the more granular we get with it. I think the way that the environment team and the designers kind of use our assets is also really interesting, because you might kind of go in there and we might make a science set, and then you kind of turn around and it's being used in like a criminal then
Yeah.
they kind of like completely repurposed it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's cool.
that's cool. We weren't expecting you to use that. So yeah, I think we've kind of invested quite a lot of time in our kind of like theming and hopefully our storytelling. Again, design have been kind of like they'll come to us and be like, oh yeah, we're thinking about this particular mission, or we're thinking about we want to have go into this room and it's all you can go and collect cargo from here. So we want these storage lockers and we want these sort of different cargoes and things like that. And so yes, it's been quite again a varied kind of mix of things.
All sorts of bits. A big push for surfaced outpost stuff though. I know we had a lot of guys at one point, and we still do. We're doing the kind of finishing touches on surfaced outpost props, but we've had guys working on the mining, storage, hydroponics, habitation. I recently got to make the sanitary cubicle, which I actually really enjoyed making that asset because it's like a very small room with a toilet in it. But yeah, it was good fun.
Yeah, and I think again, with the surface outpost, it has been because we've done some of the hydroponics, so it's been like the plant life and the different kind of vegetation that's in there as well, and also we've been working on some of the kind of exterior assets. So some of the larger scale props that you would see kind of based around the kind of exterior of these outposts to kind of like help them bed into the environment and make them feel like they're actually kind of they've got purpose and they're there being used. So that's they've kind of followed like a slightly different workflow because they've used more of the kind of like the environment art tech just because of their scale. It kind of made sense to work the way they work rather than the way kind of like we work on the props team. And I think the other thing we've been doing is kind of like working quite closely with Alex on the kind of procedural tech. Like some of the stuff that he's been suggesting and then delivering has been like really impressive. So it's really good to see that stuff kind of like coming online and kind of like pushing forward with that stuff as well.
All right. Next question here was, what is the smallest and largest props that you've worked on?
Smallest, I guess, would be
probably a dragonfly component, maybe, or
the subcomponents for them are pretty diddy, but
yeah, the subcomponents. We had some little for one of the Star Marine maps. We had some little baggies that were like tiny. Some little medication bottles and things like that. They were pretty small.
Stuff like pens.
Yeah,
pens are pretty small.
Yeah, they're the kind of like the really small scale, and then large scale. Well,
who's got the record now? Because Joel had the record for the comms tower, which was probably about 15 meters tall.
I think David's weather station.
Yeah, he took it from Joel. Joel had the record for tallest prop. And it's been destroyed by David.
Which is a exterior outpost asset. It's a weather station that kind of like sits in the surrounding area. And then we've got like shipping containers. They go up to I think it's 10 meters by 2.5 by 2.5.
We do work in metric all the time, by the way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think that's probably as biggest we've gone so far.
All right.
Although, actually, we have got that mining machine.
The gigantic mining thing. Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, but that's not.
Let's talk about that later.
Yeah.
Sorry. The Sidnus mining bot. Let's see. You guys are from the UK. Be honest. When you're making sinks, one faucet or two?
I haven't actually made any faucets, but I have to say, if I did, it would definitely be two. It just makes more sense. One for cold, one for hot. You can fill something up with cold water whilst hot water. You can use both.
I recently replaced my bathroom at home, and I replaced it with a single. Yeah. So
you're letting the team down, man.
Good job, Ben.
Yeah. Although it does, like, my kids can't quite understand how it works, so they just turn it straight on and everywhere. And, it's chaos.
But see, now you're preparing your children for a life in the real world. When they learn how to use a single faucet sink, they'll be better prepared.
No, it's not about that, man. It's about just having hot and cold separate. It's fine. Everything was where it is. All
right. Next question from the chat. Are in-game props modular or bespoke? Everything else in Star Citizen seems to be going to a modular system, like the truck stops, satellites, moon bases, etc. For example, will there be standard sizes for boxes, crates, suitcases, etc.?
Well, there's already standard sizes in the props. We use various metrics, standard cargo units for cargo. We use cover metrics for everything else. So we try and build consistency in terms of how assets can be used as cover, like full-size cover, standing behind, half-size cover, crouching behind, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I think because we cover such a wide range of things, it really does depend on the individual asset. We've got to be very, very careful with when we create assets. So you think, oh yeah, I'm going to make a cup, and then take me like a few hours, it's great. But then you've kind of got to consider, well, okay, if we've got animation that for this cup, and then you've got a pint glass or a shot glass, or and we've kind of, so we have set sizes for a lot of our different types of props. So this would be a cylindrical pick-upable prop, and we want to work within the kind of like the min and max kind of grip sizes. One thing we kind of did run into slightly in the past is that we were kind of like really strict with it, and then you kind of get them in the character's hand in game, and
Looks
what you
massive.
think is like 2 centimeters difference, it's like this much, it won't make a difference, and then you see it and you're like, oh, it just looks ridiculous.
Like a standard 330 millimeter milliliter can, and if you're trying to adhere to metrics, sometimes it's a bit like, you look like you could club someone with that. It's massive. It's not can sized anymore.
So we do have a set of metrics. So it's not everything's going to fit within a 25 centimeter box. It very much depends on what it is. As Corey mentioned, like things like cargo and pick-uppables, it's really important that we are consistent with our sizes. It doesn't mean that you're building a laptop and it has to be like, say, like 50 centimeters by 25 by 25. We have flexibility, but where the contact points are is where we need to be really important. And as Corey says, we are making a universe with a huge amount of variation in it, but cover metrics is kind of really important, especially for Star Marines. And if we're making, that's why our cargo and cover sizes are the same, so that anywhere that you can kind of place crates and boxes and things like that, we want them to be kind of used as cover and have kind of gameplay use, and smaller items than that for kind of pick-upable crates and things like that, we tend to, where we can and where they don't make things look silly, we will work to a kind of a division of that 1.25 meters, so that we know that if we stack 3 of them on top of each other, it can be used as set dressing, but it also is another kind of cover point. There's this stuff as the game has progressed, the more and more important this stuff becomes. Absolutely, if you're flying around the universe, you will find boxes that aren't 50 centimeters tall, but where we know that it's going to impact the kind of like the gameplay, we absolutely kind of work to a metric system. In terms of modularity, like there wouldn't be modularity between
there's only one way to really make a cup. You can't really make like a modular cup. It's got to
it's where it makes sense. So if we're doing like the counter units, so like the shopping counters and things like that, we will make them modular in that we'll make straights and corners and curves and things like that.
And it'll be environment build them.
And they can snap together and work as a modular set, just so that it makes it much easier from a kind of like a building point of view. And also, generally in the real world, things tend to be built in a way that they kind of do work together. Like our desk here is built up of smaller sections that all kind of go together. So we do where it makes sense, but we're not as I think the environment team worked to like a 60-40 split, and the ship team are around that. We're nowhere near kind of like that level of modularity, just because most of our stuff has unique shapes and unique forms, and
plus we have the technology such as layer blend to kind of optimize having lots of different materials and stuff together. Which I just kind of opened a can of worms there explaining layer blend now.
Go into it. What is it?
Okay. So layer blend is the kind of like the material system that we use. It's the same material system that the character team use.
And weapons.
And weapons. And what it allows us to do is it means that if we're making this model ship, for example, can you see that? Sorry.
Let's go here.
Okay. So I don't want to break it. So if we're making this ship, for example, rather than having a kind of completely uniquely unwrapped, so all of this detail is on one texture, the problem with that is that we're limited by the texture size, and because we want to make things look really good, and we want it to stand up when you get up close to it, if we're limited by our texture size, it kind of, that can hold back the quality.
You wouldn't want every single surface to have like a 2K texture on it when you can kind of, if it's a flat surface, you can kind of, we use a lot of like basically really small tileables with layer blend. And they're kind of pre-cached, I guess that'd be the right term
so the
for
way
it.
the layer blend library kind of works is that we have a library of kind of surfaces and materials in there. So we'll have like bare metals and plastics and rubbers and cloth and all that sort of stuff.
Recently wood.
Yeah, and now wood. And what that allows us to do is that we can, using kind of masks and material IDs, we can break up this model and say that, okay, so we've got these two different kind of finishes on the metals here, and normally they'd cost us 2 draw calls if we were using 2 material IDs.
Yeah, or a big chunky texture with all the information on it.
Yep. But what layer blend is, it kind of condenses that all into 1 draw call. So it's a really, really kind of powerful way of having lots of different, like if you look at this here, you've got a few different metals, you've got glass, you've got plastics, there's all sorts. You might end up with like, I don't know, 10 or 12 different material types or surface types. And by utilizing the layer blend system, it allows us to kind of combine all that into 1 draw call.
It all gets munched down. It's using only like 256 by 256 textures instead of a ginormous ones. Yeah.
And then,
really
then
cool.
where we get our variation is because we plug in a few different. So that's the kind of like the base level library. It uses these small tileable textures, and then we get our variation by using different masks that kind of blend those textures together. So we use something called a WDA map, which is a where dirt and AO, and that allows us to control when we start to age these assets, because we make everything new. And then we have sliders in engine that allow us to age it, and eventually that stuff will be, if something's in an abandoned environment, that will
be driven by like volumes.
Yeah,
so you'd have like a volume of space, and you'd say, I want everything in this space to be worn by this amount.
Yeah, so we could do like the surface outpost and say this surface outpost hasn't been touched in 10 years, so everything's completely kind of worn and knackered. And we use kind of higher res kind of shared masks that allow us to control where and that blending between the materials come in. The other really nice thing about the layer blend system is, especially for kind of like the character team, and we utilize it for if we're doing things like rucksacks and bags and even toys sometimes and things like that, is if we've got kind of sub polygon so I appreciate this might not be that interesting to some people, but if we've got kind of sub polygon kind of surface changes, so we want to pull out these logos, then we can use kind of like again like a higher res texture to kind of tell the shader where we want the different surfaces to be. So it's
like a big mask texture, basically.
It's a really, really kind of, once you kind of invest the time in the library and kind of getting these nice textures, it's a really, really flexible system, because it allows us to, like I say, make a really wide range of assets and the scale of assets as well, because we can then make anything. Like I say, you can make a pen, and rather than that pen either being a unique texture or a kind of like
a lot of different materials.
Yeah, because if we want to pick it up and look at it, we want it to stand up and look good. So it allows us to make high detail on small props, but then still on our larger scale assets, still make kind of really good, convincing.
A lot of variation on large flat surfaces as well, which you wouldn't think is that easy to achieve with 256 textures. Gotcha. But with the masking system, we can kind of
where we kind of blend the materials together, it's really powerful.
All right, so based on what you just described here, we can have props that age in weather based on time in a specific environment, so like that. Will props also have damage states?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So it's something that we for Star Marine we kind of implemented our kind of like first go at it, and it's something we kind of we're going to build on and iterate on over time. We've made quite a lot of back end improvement, or I say the clever technical people that are in the company have made quite a lot of kind of technical improvements, and we've moved over to the kind of like the Item 2.0 system now, and that's now responsible for all of our damage states. We're kind of looking at that stuff at the moment for 3.0 and kind of what we can achieve in time for that. But effectively, like CR always gives us the direction that if we've got a bottle here and it looks like you can shoot it, you can shoot it. Like that's what we're aiming for. That's what we're trying to achieve. So everything might not have damage states at the moment, but moving forward, that will be the case. And for things like it will have kind of gameplay implications as well, because if you go into a storage area and it's got some gas canisters that you can pick up and you can move them and you can put them where you want, and you can move your crates and build some cover, and you can shoot these things and they explode. And there's a lot of kind of it allows for, I guess, players to kind of create their own kind of like gameplay scenarios.
Yeah. All right.
But like I say, it's something that I'm really passionate about, getting that player interaction. I think that's kind of one of the sorry.
No, I love it, man. I love it. These are my favorite shows. People in chat are like, Lando looks bored. I'm like, no, I love it when I can just sit here and I can just like, go on, keep talking. Please keep going.
Yeah, for me, that's one of the kind of like really exciting things about working on the project, is the fact that you can dress environments to be really pretty, but the fact that we're kind of trying to push beyond that. And like I say, we'll start off small. It will be the cargo boxes that you can move, the things you can pick up with your hands, and we'll start there, and then as we kind of learn more and we progress more, we'll start to build up and iterate on that stuff. So it will be you can go in and you can pick up your bottles and you can look at them and you can throw them, and you can pick up data pads and it will have some information on there that you can
shooting screens,
stuff
like that,
shooting screens and shooting lights out, and
it's important at the moment, I suppose, for us to do a lot of R&D into the best way of doing destruction before actually going through our entire prop library. I didn't mean to hit the mic there. Going through all the prop library and actually, making the destruction work for them. So I guess, we're doing R&D at the moment for the destruction system and getting that working, with item 2.0 as well.
Like all things in Star Citizen, it's an iterative process. What was yesterday is not what is today, and will not be what will be tomorrow.
And I think it allows us to like Corey says, we like the watermelon, and we had I think like the watermelon for submarine, that was using a kind of like a unique tech solution for us. We'd not kind of done that sort of stuff before. I think the other important thing to kind of get across is the props team, it started out with just me, and then it kind of grew, and over the past kind of like year and a half ish, we've kind of
it's 9 of us now.
Yeah, there's 9 of us now, and we're still growing. So a lot of this stuff, is kind of like super exciting for us as well. So we kind of can't wait to kind of get on.
Right. The R&D is something we're constantly doing on the side, as well as producing content.
Gotcha. All right. So another question from the chat: have you ever put a prop into the game that had meaning to you in real life? Have you had a chance to sneak any Easter eggs into the game yet?
There's a few on my list that I'm not going to talk about.
Don't get sussed out then.
Yeah, there is a couple. There's a few on my list that are kind of they're nostalgic from movies and things like that are on my to-do list and are on the official backlog. But they'll be subtle. We don't want to.
We have a couple in game now from when Behavior, our partners at Behavior, used to make a lot of the props. There's a code. There's a code on a post-it note that a lot of people have had questions. There's a few post-it notes with codes, and a big mystery forever has been what was the background of those codes, and we now know that it's the birthdays of some of the children of one of the developers at Behavior.
Okay.
I know.
I've snuck a few important dates into assets in strings of code.
All right, cool. So yeah. So the answer is yes. You do have a couple of props that have important significance to you. All right. You want to tell us what one is yet, or no? Keep it to yourself.
You're just gonna have to look. Really, you're gonna have to look at every single random string of numbers and letters and try and figure it out.
Just Google Corey.
All right.
Don't Google Corey.
Don't Google Corey.
Have you guys worked on any alien props? And if so, where do you get your inspiration for them?
Have I worked on any alien props?
I know we've done a couple on the props team. I don't know if Corey's done them specifically.
It's mostly alien fruit that I've seen people working on.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, we've done a few small scale alien assets. And again, to be honest, it's working with the writers, it's working with the concept team, because this stuff's like really important. That's where we invest our kind of concept team and the lore. I think again, it's worth, if we're making stuff that isn't necessarily as important to the story, we kind of just crack on and get it done and get it in. But things that kind of are really important. We will invest the kind of concept time in it. I have seen some recent concept stuff that is coming down the line. But I'm not sure about alien races and how much we can say. So
Yeah,
Okay.
keep that one on the DL.
You did good.
Yeah.
All right.
There's definitely in the future. I suspect there's going to be a lot of alien props that need making.
Yes.
Since I'm sure aliens have things that
Yes.
don't talk or are bolted down and don't fly, so
Yes.
it will eventually fall into us, I think.
There's a question in the subscribers den thread about the tactical Tarp, the Crusaders Industries B419 AR tactical stealth utility Tarp. I don't think we can talk about that.
Never heard of it.
No, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't think we're allowed to talk about that. This is
No,
an
I don't
open
know.
channel, people.
Yeah, we can't discuss such things on an open channel.
I
I
mean,
think.
the clips may have been declassified, but not the Tarp, man. You're trying to get us in trouble here.
If you mention it, you got to just kind of keep an eye out behind you. So
I think, yeah.
Another question from the chat. I really want to see bobbleheads and hula dolls.
Oh, tell me about it.
What are the chances?
Tell me about it. So I actually had this conversation a couple of weeks ago. Again, talking to the writers, and we had a kind of good catch up when they were over in the UK a few weeks ago. I'm desperate to get them in. I think they're going to be. I just think they're cool.
I'm looking forward to it. That'll be a fun thing to make.
I have a Chris Roberts bobblehead on my desk.
Send it to us and we'll put it in game.
Yeah. Maybe we can get a
Send us some
scan or
pictures.
something.
Yeah. No, it's actually it's one I made myself as a gift for Chris, and then when I worked here, he gave it back.
Did he like it? Because
Well, I don't know. He gave it back. So. Let's see.
I think I'd like to get bobbleheads in. It's something every so often we'll chat. Like, it'd be cool to get some bobbleheads in. Like, yeah, it would be. Yeah, that's it. So
we talk about bits and bobs for like flare items and stuff that we're like, that would be really nice. And it's just at the moment we're kind of focused on 3.0 stuff and beyond. But we have time here and there for little bits and bobs like that we want to work on.
Yeah, and I think also like we get a lot of requests from like members of the art team and the art directors and stuff, and they always want to put the personality into the game, and they always want to kind of sell the story. And you've got a security desk, and it's like, yeah, but what did the guy, who was this guy that worked at this security desk? And I mean, Ian kind of like, he comes over to me a lot, and like, oh yeah, we're really looking for the personality,
telling a story through giving stuff history, giving places history as well as items history.
And it's really like important. It's the items that people bring with them. So on my desk I've got a little kind of little reminder from when I went to trip to Japan, and you've got little drawings that your kids have made you, and just little kind of bits and pieces. And I think they aren't always the highest priority in terms of you walk into a room, and if you haven't got the main infrastructure, then you've got no idea what that room's function is. But they're the kind of like the details that kind of give
it like a history. Give it a sense of being lived in and having having a past.
And it makes it kind of from this like really sterile functional area, like I say, it just gives it kind of a bit of
like when I saw the dressing passes that they've done for the outposts. I was super excited just to see, all these props we worked on, and you kind of work on them individually, and you're like, okay, this is a desk, right? And then you see what the environment team, and coupled with all the hard work everyone's done together, and you see a story being told with your assets in there, and that's super exciting.
And then you get the kind of like the Lightning and the VFX guys kind of come in, and they again, like, it's amazing how much when you kind of add all these layers on top of each other, it goes from being this, like I say, like this item that you're working on and you're focused on it, and you kind of drop it into a level and you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's really cool, I like it. And then it goes from being that to being part of a story in this like really kind of beautiful area. It's cool.
All right, now this is a subscribers town hall. You are the props team. One of the things that subscribers get for being a subscriber is subscriber flair. They get a flare item every single month. You are the guys who are actually making those flare now. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's correct. So,
what can you tell us about that process?
The flares is again, it's something that I think's it's quite a rewarding thing to do, because it's things that people are excited about, and it's things that
it's going to the people that spawn you as well, which is really awesome.
Yeah, and it's a way of that. They're getting it every month, so it's kind of being used, and you kind of
It's like being Santa every month, really.
So and the flare items is something that we so originally I think it was behavior that were responsible for it, and then when we kind of built the internal team, we kind of got to the point where we're like, yeah, do you know what, we can kind of like handle this stuff ourselves. And you know, these flare items, correct me if I'm wrong, kind of go back from the very start of the project.
Yeah, pretty early.
And it's something that we like to do. And definitely it gives us a chance to kind of just do something pretty cool. They're normally things that, like I say, aren't necessarily tied into like the kind of like the story of Squadron, or they're not tied into a mission or anything like that. They're just kind of things that are a little bit different, and they're also things that quite often people are like, can I use this to dress here? And you're like, not really. It's kind of it's a subscriber thing. You kind of you're not don't touch it. So it has that kind of exclusivity on it as well. And it's also like, Corey made the Christmas tree.
Yeah, that was fun. I like the. I didn't make the tree, to be fair. That was actually that the tree itself was pulled from the. Was it Frank who made that, the veg team? Well, no. It was environment team. We didn't have
it was one of the cactuses from the CitizenCon demo.
That's right. And I basically just dressed it like a Christmas tree, which was quite fun. It was fun setting up the sparkly lights and the little ships flying around it.
I remember seeing it for the first time, and I'm like,
yeah,
did they just take the cactus from the CitizenCon desert? It's like, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And gave it some love, gave it some Christmas cheer.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good fun.
In addition to working on the subscriber flare, you're down the line soon, we'll be working on all those hangar flare items that come with all of the concept sales, things like the models and the posters and stuff. Those will be exciting to finally get into people's hands.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think again, this is stuff that we've got quite a big backlog of these that we kind of want to get on top of, and now we've got the team's grown to the point where we can kind of dedicate time to this stuff. It is something that kind of we want to kind of get in there and get in game. It's stuff we've been promising for a while, and
quite a long time.
We want to get this stuff delivered. And also, we definitely, there's been a lot of, if you think a lot of these flares were made very, very early on, and it's definitely stuff that we want to kind of go back on and
give us some love.
Bring up, start using our kind of like our
newer processes.
Our kind of workflow that we use now, because we can visually make things look a lot prettier, and we can also improve on the performance as well, which I think they're as important as it is making a really, really good looking game. It's also equally, if not more important, that we kind of make a really well performing game. So we do definitely need to kind of dedicate our time to go back and kind of bring up some of these and kind of get them all up to the equal.
You know those model stations?
I do.
Is that a thing?
Yes.
Okay. Is that a thing? A thing?
The hollow stations.
Yeah, I'm trying to be subtle here. It's not really going.
I believe they've been announced. If not,
yes, they have been announced and awarded to people already, and they're in the game, and people can have them in their hangars now.
The reason I bring this up is because we've been downscaling stuff like ships and stations, and we're getting a pipeline in for that as well, which is important going forwards with the
because I
ship
think
models.
You look at some of these kind of like these stations and these ships that are hundreds of thousands, if not
millions.
More. Yeah, when you've got a station that is you can land some of our biggest ships in game on, they're massive. So it is as much as I would love to say, we just grab it and it's done. It doesn't quite work like that. So it is kind of like a time investment, but again, it is nice to build that kind of coherency between what we can give the players to kind of dress their hangars with, and make sure that it's a conversation that I remember having with David Haddock about because sometimes we come up with ideas like, we've got these models, they'd be great as flares. He's like, they're nice, but they don't really give much to the player. And you're like, oh, okay, all right, fine. And then he'll come up with something. You're like, oh that's a cracking idea. Why don't we think of that? So it is a kind of a time investment, but it is nice to be able to do it. So,
all right. Well, guys, with that, you've made it to the end already.
Never.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that's it.
Okay.
That's it. Congratulations.
Wow. Thanks very much for having us.
See, you were worried about it, weren't you?
Yeah, I was looking at a list of questions. I was like, oh god, how are we going to go through all this? And
I haven't lost the developer
yet. I honestly
yet.
thought we were about 20 minutes in, so
See, I thought you'd be okay. I haven't lost the developer yet. There's Ricky in the background. Hi, Ricky.
Yeah, he is.
Folks watching, just some couple housekeeping tips. Tomorrow we've got another episode of Lore Maker's Guide to the Galaxy. Normally we go Lore Makers, Bug Smashers, Lore Makers, Bug Smashers, but we're changing up the rotation for something that's later on down the road. So we'll be back-to-back Lore Makers tomorrow. Around the Verse Thursday, as usual, and of course, no happy hour this Friday. This Friday is our May monthly report, so you can tune in for that to find out all the crazy things that the teams around the world have been working on for the month of May. With that, Corey and Ben, thank you so much for taking your time.
Absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
For staying so late and talking with us.
That's my pleasure.
All right, with that, I'll say sayonara. See you later.
See ya. Thanks very much.
Universe. Ta-ta.
Bye.